All right, peasants. Today we're going to be addressing the topic that Opossum Bud recently came out with about vendors and is it fair on the amount that the value that they give you for your cards and how much they pay you. And we're here to talk about that. Coming from a vendor, I kind of wanted to address this a little bit and kind of talk about exactly if what we offer within trade or in cash, if it actually comes out to fair price for the person making the sale. Let's get into it. Now, he didn't really explicitly talk about vendors at trade shows. He was talking about people that go on to these Facebook groups, these Reddit pages, and offer 70-80% market to people that are actively trying to sell their collections on their own. And from that perspective, I kind of understand that if you have somebody that's actively trying to sell their cards, putting in the work, shipping it, and wanting to get full market value, and they're clearly ready to do the legwork, I kind of find that a little bit insulting because clearly they're trying to sell their cards on their own and take the time to trying to get their full market value, right? So for someone to just come in and be like, hey, I want to get 75% for everything, it's kind of a dumb move in my opinion. Now for me, I'm talking more about actual card shows. When collectors go to a card show and want to sell their collection or trade their collection, typically we offer 70%, 80%, sometimes higher depending on how liquid the card is. So let's kind of take in a scenario about, let's just start with the $1,000 collection. So this $1,000 collection, let's just say has, a mixture between high value cards and low value cards, anywhere between 5 to 10 up to about $100, okay? So we're starting off at 1,000. So let's just take the cash offer, right? Just because I've recently gotten more cash outs than I have trades. So let's look at it. So let's just say we're going to do 70% for this person. So we're going to do 0.7, right? It's going to be an easy $700, right? Don't have to worry about anything. It's right then and there, cash in hand, and you walk out the door, right? Or you have some cash to spend to buy something else. Me, the vendor, takes all the risk in holding the inventory. If there's price fluctuations that weekend or between this weekend and the next time I vend, then we'll have to eat those costs. So now let's talk about, if you were to take the same $1,000 and start selling it on your own, right? So let's just say, you go through eBay, you do the typical 14% selling fees, right? So it would do 14% from that, and then you're going to have about $860, right? Before shipping cost. Now, shipping costs, it kind of depends on the cards and how much you sell. If you were to sell, anything under $20, you can send it in a plain white envelope, and you're good to go, right? Sometimes I think at max it's about $1.30. However, for anything over $20, you're going to use a bubble mailer, which mostly is going to be about $4 each time you do it. So on the low end, I'm going to average it to about $4, which is on the low end. So about, let's just say 5% total from $1,000, which equals about another $50, right? So between these two, so now you have so you take these two numbers, all right? So 860 minus 50. And then so if you were to list on your own, shipping and everything, you're looking at $810, right? The difference being between $810 and $700 is $110. Now, let's talk about time. Time it takes to do all this. Listing it on eBay, taking photos, shipping it, printing labels, even buyer messages, scam. Like hopefully you don't deal with scams, but that does happen. So let's just say base case scenario, you get all of it done without any hiccups. From this $110, let's just say it takes you about 20 hours total to sell everything because not everything is going to sell right away, right? Some things are going to take a little bit longer. Some things are going to sell pretty quick. So it varies quite a bit, right? So let's look at that. So let's just say you take $110 and you divide that by 20 hours. So let's just do some quick math. You're looking at about $5.50 an hour, okay? Well, what if it's longer than that, right? What if it takes you a little bit longer? What if it takes you 30 or 40 hours? Then what? So if you take even longer, you do, $110 by 40 hours. Now you're working for $2.75 per hour. That's pretty bad. That's a waste of my time if it's me, right? Unless you really enjoy doing this, I don't see why it would be financially reasonable to do this, right? You're not making very much. Let's just say best case scenario, you did it in 10 hours, right? I mean, you're getting $11 an hour. I mean, still, that's just a waste of time. I mean, for me, it doesn't make any sense unless you're making minimum wage or unless you really, really love doing the entire process of listing on eBay. It doesn't make much sense, right? At least to me. So in this argument, for me, I think that, of course, I'm a little bit biased, but at the same time, I look at it as what's my time worth, and it's worth way more than all three of these numbers, right? So I think he kind of nailed it when it came to the vendors trying to get onto these forums and trying to get a deal and, kind of tout that they're a vendor. No one cares, right? Especially the people that are selling it and trying to get market price. They don't really care who you are and why you're trying to lowball them. At card shows, I think it's a little bit more reasonable, and I think it makes sense, and I think the expectation is there that you're going to get this fast cash out. We're going to take on the responsibility of owning it and now trying to sell it and, building my own collection and making and turning a profit. And I do respect Opossum Bud. He has a lot of good takes, and he does criticize the people in the hobby that I think that need to be called out. So not to dog on him or anything, but I just wanted to kind of break that down a little bit and see it from my perspective on why that I think 70% is pretty fair. Obviously, I pay a little bit more depending on the card and the condition. Last time I did my last show, I did pay 90% on cards that were gradable. And I think those were the Entei V from Crown Zenith. It was the Mewtwo V-Star from Crown Zenith as well. So it just varies, right? But on an entire collection that has a span of value, I think 70% is a pretty fair price. So let me know what you guys think. Do you think 70-80% is pretty fair on the vendor side for paying and cashing out collections that span multiple different values? And agree with me as far as the time, right? If your time is worth more than these values, wouldn't you want to spend it somewhere else and putting your energy elsewhere? Or do you agree with Opossum's take and think that this is more of like a ripoff? So let me know what you guys think and where you guys are coming from. I'd really be interested to know what other people think in the hobby. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, help me out, get my channel growing. I am going to be doing a show coming up pretty soon, and also a collection update to kind of see where we're at. Small, but it's modest, and I'm pretty proud of it. So I'll be breaking that down pretty soon. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in again. I'll see you guys next time.